Hello, so welcome back in a new video. This time I'm in Hungary, in the south of North Macedonia. However, I want to show you Subotica, which is a small city in the north of Serbia. It's actually the first city I went to after leaving Budapest. So here is the story. This is George. George is the taxi driver who took me from the border of Serbia, between Serbia and Hungary, and drove me to Subotica. It's been a really interesting journey, and so many things went wrong on the day I left Budapest because while traveling in this time is hard. I found out that the internet is very unreliable. So I thought there was a bus connecting Szeged, a city in the south of Hungary, connecting to Subotica, like directly with a bus. I was wrong. That bus was suspended, and I found out about it only in the morning when I was meant to leave. So a little bit of panic, but everything went fine. So I went to Szeged in the south of Hungary, and there I found out that there was a bus that could take me to the border, Hungarian border, but this bus couldn't cross entering in Serbia. So that's what I did. I took this bus to the border, and eventually I walked to cross the border. So I passed through the Hungarian checkpoint and then the Serbian checkpoint. Everything was fine. It was just a bit unusual to cross the border by walking. It was my first time, and that's all right because I will do it again really soon. To enter Albania from North Macedonia is going to be exactly the same. There is no bus that connects the two countries, so I will need to do the same. Let's say funny story is that I needed a PCR test in order to enter Serbia. The problem is that at the Serbian border, they stamped my passport, but they never asked me for my PCR test. So that went like this. Once I entered Serbia, I just got a taxi, and that's where I met George. Very, very chatty taxi driver who took me to Subotica. And you see him here in the inside the city hall. What happened is that we actually accidentally bumped into each other on my last day in Subotica. I think I stayed 3 days. I just went out for a walk in the afternoon, and literally like we crossed. Which are the chances? So very nicely, he gave me a tour of the city, explaining me lots of things, and he was able to let me enter the city hall just for a short part. I couldn't really see it all, but that's okay. So that is the photo from the entrance, the main hall, I guess, of the city hall in Subotica. Really beautiful building. If you're coming from Hungary and you want to get to Serbia, I highly recommend you to stop in Subotica. I think even 1 day if you are short in time. Otherwise, try to spend 2 days. I think that's optimal because this way you can spend 1 full day even in Lake Palic, which is highly recommended. It's really such a nice place for a day trip. I didn't know about Subotica. I didn't know even that it existed before I started to do any kind of research about Serbia. Why did I stop there? Well, for 2 main reasons. First one is that it was the first city, like very, very close to the Hungarian border. And I wanted to be sure that my trip was not too long. So I didn't want to go straight to Belgrade or to Novi Sad because they were still quite far from the border. I didn't know exactly how it would have worked In fact, yeah, that day was very messy, as I told you. Subotica was a really good compromise. Then I found out that it's actually a beautiful, beautiful city full of Art Nouveau buildings, as you will see now. So, good choice. As you can see, it's a small city. It's very relaxed. Just go for a slow walk in the city center, walking those narrow cobblestone streets, and just admire all the Art Nouveau buildings. You will see so many, and they're very, very beautiful. Walk slowly, really admire all the details that you can see in the streets, in the buildings. All these pastel colors and very bright color combinations, flowery details, different forms. It's really, really beautiful and really unique. Even though sometimes I really thought I was still in Hungary, cities like maybe Szeged or Pécs, but even Budapest have a really similar architecture. So I think, yes, Subotica is really something in between Hungary and Serbia from an architectural point of view. So yeah, it's a good transition, I think. And here is the city hall. This is really the landmark, the center of Subotica. It was designed by two Hungarian architects, and you can see the rooftop with its Zsolnay tiles. These are very special ceramic tiles made in Palich in Hungary. And I think it's very interesting that for once it's not a church or a cathedral to be the core of the city, but the city hall. So yeah, that's something that characterizes Subotica. And this one is Lake Palace. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't remember how to pronounce it anymore. Lake Palace. Is the very first building that you see once you get out of Subotica train station. It's just there in front of you. It was the house and studio of Ferenc Reichlet, an Hungarian architect who spent all his money, all his fortune on this Art Nouveau building. You really have to go and check it out. Unfortunately, the architect couldn't enjoy his home for a long time. In fact, he went bankrupt only 4 years after he moved in, and that's because he spent all of his money to decorate and to furnish his home. This was then sold at an auction together with the furniture, any luxurious item or piece of art. And nowadays, it's a home for the Contemporary Art Gallery, Museum of Modern Art, for the Museum of Modern Art of Subotica. Oh, it was so good to finally visit a museum after 1 full year of nothing. Now I leave you to the Synagogue, which is the jewel of Subotica. Look how beautiful in its decorations, which are specific from the Hungarian version of Art Nouveau. So you can see all these natural elements in the decorations, like peacock feathers, roses, tulips. They're everywhere, outside and within the interiors as well. I was really lucky because there was actually nobody around, And this is really a great time to travel because everywhere I go, there's no one. So I always have an entire museum for myself, an entire synagogue for myself. It's really beautiful. If you have the chance to travel now, do it. The seats in the lower floor, in the lower ground, were reserved for to men, and women were seated in the gallery. Another place that I highly recommend you to visit while you are in Subotica is Lake Palic. It's just 8 kilometers east of Subotica, so it's really easy. I think you can go there by bus as well. And it's such a relaxing place. You can go there, enjoy the lake, enjoy the parks and nature. You can really walk all around the lake. I think it takes 1 hour, something like that. Admire the Art Nouveau buildings. There are some even here. They're very unusual in their shapes. For example, the water tower is one of them. And you will see even here roofs covered in usual night tiles with their beautiful bright pastel colors. So highly recommended.